श्री सच्चिदानंद सतगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय। सतगुरु श्री साईनाथ निशरत बापू जी की जय। Rose Petals, Volume 2, Chapter 11, The Longest Longing. My favorite parable is the one about the sadhu in the forest. I have told it to you in satsang many times before. Do you remember it? There was an old man who yearned in his heart for the sakshatkar of Lord Vishnu. So, as it is said in the Shastras, he went into a forest, sat under a tree, and started doing tapas, controlling his senses, focusing, concentrating, and contemplating who am I? Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, all these things. He was very sincere and he was practicing all that he had heard and read. One day, the divine minstrel Narada, the angel Gabriel of Hindu mythology, was going that way and happened to see this fellow. Somehow, intuitively, Narada liked him, so he approached and asked him, "Who are you? Where have you come from? And what are you doing here?" The sadhu was so happy to have the darshan of such a great sage as Narada that he explained everything to him. Narada was pleased and said, "Okay, do you have any wish?" The sadhu replied, "O Narada, I don't have any wish. I have only one request. O great sage, next time when you go to Vaikunta, the abode of Vishnu, just ask him when he will give me a darshan. Afterwards, kindly return and give me his answer." Narada said, "Oh, it's a simple request. Sure, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it." And he went away. Some years passed, and Narada clean forgot about it. Then one day he happened to visit Vaikunta and was chatting with Vishnu when suddenly he remembered the old man and his question. So he asked Vishnu, "O Lord, I forgot to ask you something. Long ago I met a poor sadhu and he was doing very intense tapas. He was a sincere, honest man and I liked him very much. He had a small question. When are you going to give him darshan?" And Lord Vishnu said, "I am sorry, Narada. I am afraid it will be a long time. So long that he'll have to take as many births as there are leaves on the tree which he is sitting under. That means he'll have to undergo some thousands of births before I give him darshan." Then Narada said, "Oh, I'm sorry because he's a very nice chap." Vishnu said, "What to do? It's his prarabdha. I can't help it." "As you wish, my lord," Narada said, and he went away. After some time, Narada happened to be going again in the forest on the same path near the sadhu. He saw the man but didn't want to give him the sad tidings, so he was just passing him by, ignoring him. But the man saw Narada and immediately ran up to him, saying, "What is this, O great sage? Why are you so cross with me? What wrong have I done that last time without asking you came and gave me your darshan, but today you are just ignoring me and going away?" Narada replied, "Oh, it's nothing. I am not angry with you. I was just busy. How are you? Is everything going well?" "Everything is all right," the sadhu replied. "But what about my question?" Then Narada said, "Don't worry about it. Everything is fine. Go ahead. Lord Vishnu will definitely grace you. His grace is always with you. Go on. You're doing well." But the sadhu insisted, "No, no, O Narada. Please answer my question." Again Narada replied, "Don't worry about the answer. Come on, go ahead." He didn't want to discourage that fellow by telling him what Lord Vishnu had said. But the man insisted and insisted, so at last Narada had no choice. He said, "What can I say, poor fellow? Lord Vishnu said you won't have his darshan until you undergo as many births as there are leaves on this tree you're sitting under." As he said this, Narada thought, "My God, this man will have a heart attack when he hears this." But to his great surprise, when the man heard it, he started dancing with joy, shouting in ecstasy, "I'm so happy. Lord Vishnu has promised me darshan. He's going to give me darshan. and he was dancing and dancing. At the very moment, Lord Vishnu appeared from Vaikunta and gave him darshan. At this, Narada was even more surprised and put out. Narada sincerely wanted Lord Vishnu to give him darshan, but after telling the man it wouldn't happen for 1,000 births, Narada now felt like a fool when Vishnu suddenly appeared before him. Afterwards, as Lord Vishnu and Narada were going away together, Narada couldn't help complaining to the Lord. "What is this you have done, my Lord? You have made a fool of me in front of him. First, you told me you wouldn't give him darshan for thousands of births, and I told him that. Then suddenly you gave him darshan. What will he think of me?" Vishnu said, "What can I do, Narada? According to his prarabdha karma, he was due to undergo so many births before I could give him darshan. But when you told him I would give him darshan, even after so many births, the mere promise of my darshan made him so happy that his ecstasy burnt up the karma of all those years of waiting in a moment, and he was ready. That is why I gave him darshan then. It is not in my hands. What can I do? I didn't mean to fool you. It just happened like that. I am helpless." See, again, this is the real prototype of what is said in the Ishavasya Upanishad and the story about Daskanu's maid and the sari in the box. Like the sari in the box, the promise of darshan in this story can be taken in two ways. Normally, people would say, "How can this be Vishnu's grace? 1,000 more births. What kind of love is it? Why so many more births? Can't he just burn up all my karmas? Is he not capable of doing it?" But no, the sadhu doesn't think like that. His attitude is so positive that instead he shouts with joy, "Yes, he's going to give me darshan. Oh, I am so happy." That ecstatic happiness and positive attitude is the key to darshan. That is why, if anybody puts the question to me and asks, "Why does it take so many births? What makes the process so long?" there is no answer to it. It could be this minute or it may take forever. How long is a meaningless question. How much longing you have is how long. So, how long means how long. That is the answer. It is as long as your longing, your longest longing. It is a beautiful story. It tells hundreds, even millions of things. It is worth volumes of sastras to me, that one story. Even though it is a story and a fiction, it doesn't matter. To me, what it conveys is the essence of the sastras. Devotee. Guruji, does longing end when we reach our goal? Guruji. In one way, yes. But as I told you, it is not only that. That is why you see even Ramana Maharshi expressed longing. Even the gopis expressed longing. What kind of longing was it? Even Baba used to dance, singing songs of longing, expressing longing. Some of Kabir's songs express his longing for Ram, for the darshan of Ram. Do you think Ramana or Baba or Kabir hadn't fulfilled their goal? Their longing was fulfilled, but still they wanted to express it in this way. Expressing it in this way is longing, but it is a different kind of longing. Devotee. Guruji, we know that other great saints like Mirabai and Ravidas also wrote poetry expressing their longing and separation from their beloved. Is there a commonality in their experience? Guruji. Yes, there is. But it is not just longing, there is something else in it. There is joy. It is a joyous longing. It is the experience of union expressed in separation. Do you understand? Devotee. Guruji, is fulfillment endless? Even after reaching the goal, is there longing for more and more fullness? Guruji. Yes, for more and more. The whole path should be happy. That is what I am saying. If anybody just frets and fumes, they are not on the right path. Devotee. Isn't there sometimes a sense of suffering in longing? Guruji, I don't call it suffering. Sometimes longing feels to us like suffering, but it is not actually suffering. It has an aesthetic joy also. I think I explained this concept many times before, the difference between actual suffering and longing, and how that longing gave rise to so much beautiful poetry. For example, in order to describe the joy of the experience of union, Ramana Maharshi wrote Arunachala Padikam. If you read it, it is just an expression of his longing, of his separation. But was he really separated from the self? No. Separation is the way he describes and expresses his experience of union because the state of union cannot be described. So his experience of union is described in terms of separation. It is in separation that you get the sense of union because words only come in separation when there are two. He expresses so much the longing, the difficulty, and the suffering that comes from separation that you can imagine how much joy there is in union. It is like explaining how much you are starving when you haven't had a meal in 3 days. When you eat food again, the first thing that you say is, My God, for 3 days I haven't had a good meal. See how you think of the meals you missed, not the meal you are having right now in the moment. In order to say how much you enjoy this meal, what you say is how much you suffered without it. That says how much you are enjoying it. So the experience of union cannot be described in words. Therefore, the saints don't make the mistake of trying to describe it in words of union. Instead, they use terms of separation and longing. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, see how the gopis are longing for Krishna. And in the case of Ramana Maharshi, see how he is longing for Arunachala. Baba also used to sing songs of Kabir which expressed Kabir's longing for the Satguru or Ram. This is the only way to express union because union itself cannot be directly described. So, in this kind of separation, there is joy. Think of it as poetry. Of course, Ramana was describing union in terms of separation because he had the experience of union. But even if you are still longing for union, the very idea, the very thought of your object of love should give you happiness. What gives unhappiness is not being able to get it fully. So there is happiness and unhappiness. Both are there. It is a very peculiar thing. This is the paradox of love. Devotee. Everything takes on a sweetness when you are present with us, Guruji. How can we hold on to that when you are not with us? Guruji. By trying to hold on to it, by trying to grasp it and bring it back. Try again, struggle again. That struggling should be there. Real experience comes out of it. In Baba's Arati, we sing, I am drowning in the ocean of worldly desires. When you are drowning, how do you gasp for breath? That kind of gasping should be there. Then you will get the help. Baba will pull you out. Then you'll know the real value of just one breath. Now you are breathing, but you don't know the value of even a single breath which you have had millions of times. But then you'll know the value of one single breath. Again, you'll forget. Then again you'll remember until with every breath you'll know the value of breathing. Then every breath becomes so valuable and so blissful and so happy and so fulfilled that we begin to breathe fulfillment. We inhale and exhale fulfillment. We'll become like that. Devotee. Guruji, we long for Baba's presence. How can we feel it more and more? Guruji. If you really need Baba's presence, He will give it, and He has been giving. And if you look back, you'll see how sometimes, even when His presence has been given, we haven't taken it. We ask for something, but when it's given, we don't recognize it, so we miss it. But Baba's presence is there always. If you want His presence and you are really honest, earnest, and sincere, call. That is the only way. Call, call, call. Do it. Then you'll get it. After I told you this last time, for how many hours did you sit and call? If I were in your place, I would sit a minimum daily of 8 to 10 hours calling and calling and calling. Guruji said, call and it will be given. He has given his assurance, so come on, let's do it. Like this, let the longing grow, let the desires grow, let the obstacles diminish which come in the way of your longing and fulfillment. Then you'll get it. Baba won't leave anybody. I tell you, nobody will go empty handed. Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj ki Jai. Sadguru Shri Sainath Nisharat Babuji ki Jai.